Hello everyone, welcome back to part 2 of this tutorial. We left off in the first part from just basically making the form slide down and closing it, and we're going to carry on with a bit of jQuery to do any error checking or a couple bits of error checking, literally just on the form. And then we'll carry on with some PHP, and then we'll go back to the jQuery, which is going to be the last part. If you haven't already watched part 1, please do go back and watch that, just so you can catch up to where we are now, understand what we're actually making. So open Dreamweaver back up and see this is where we left off. The next thing I'm going to do is, under our first function, I'm going to come down a couple of lines. I'm going to paste in our new function. So the $, when using jQuery, the $, actually stands for jQuery. So jQuery, we want to make a new function. Now this new function, we don't want to have any variables set or any parameters set within the parentheses of this function. So we say jQuery.ajax, which is the same as post or get, but this is the actual Ajax method, which is what we're going to be using. And this is good if you want to send, obviously, data through the back end. So the first thing is type, and the type is going to be post. Now we use post to be more beneficial to us and to stop any threats from happening on our websites, due to, if you use the get variable, obviously in the browser window up here you'll have such and such name, whatever name you want to give it, and then it will give you the get variables to them names. So anyone that comes to the page will see more or less all them get variables, which we don't want. So that's why I'm using the post method. The URL is just going to be the URL of the PHP page we're going to be using. I've called mine newsload.php, which I've got here. I'll show you that in a minute. I've literally just scripted that out before I started this second video. But the reason for that is just to save time, and just so then I can talk you through it. Otherwise, scripting and explaining what everything does just takes too long. So I prefer just to show you everything blank, and then just do each page or each bit of script, each function, put it up, and then just explain it as we go. Again, I will keep saying this throughout the tutorial. Some of this jQuery code, like this part, which is obvious to do anyway, and the main part which we're going to be using to actually submit the data, is actually took and used from Adam Corey's tutorial, but I don't want to take any praise for this code because obviously it isn't mine. I just wanted to clarify that before I do anything else. I have made a few alterations to it, but I just wanted to get across. And also this code here is down to Adam Corey as well. So as I said, I don't want to take any of the benefit for it, or any of the anything from it. Oh, sorry, my mind's going a bit blank at the moment, but yeah, I don't want to take any of the praise for it. So any praise you want to give, it's Adam Corey. You can find him on Flash Building at YouTube, or you can find him at developphp.com and worldofwebcraft.com. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is, once we set our URL, we want to give our data. Now data is going to be whatever we want to send, or whatever we're put into the PHP to signify what we want to do. So basically I've used get news is equal to true. So we're saying that once this data has been submitted, if the get news, which I'll show you in the PHP in a minute, is equal to true, then we give our success, which is going to be a function with r, which is going to be our variable, or whatever you like to call it. I just like to call them variables, it's just easier for me to remember. But it's just basically the same as this here, what we use this x for. This is just to correspond with whatever is being clicked on this button. We have a toggle article form, and then whatever's in these curly braces corresponds to this x. It just helps to make it easier and to make it more site efficient to use on more pages. So all you have to do is just change that name and change that name so they correspond to each page's button. And then obviously if you want to keep this the same or change this name, it doesn't matter, because all you have to do is keep this x. So that's it. So that's what we're doing here. We're retrieving whatever we get from the PHP script. We put it into a function which is going to be r, and then we use the jQuery to select news content, which was our blank div underneath our form, which you can see, news content. Oh, sorry guys, news content, which is our ID. And basically we're putting the HTML of the return data into that news content. If this doesn't make any sense, I do apologise, but do follow along and you will see that you'll get the hang of it and you will understand what it's actually doing. Just as an example, you may have seen a lot of people put double quotes and then put this, or not, they won't have put this, but this is where we can insert any HTML data to display. So basically anything we put in here, as long as it's HTML based, it will output within this news content div. But as we're not going to be using it manually, I'm leaving mine as R, because I want to return whatever we get from PHP. Else, or not, else we use an error function, which is here, and I'm just going to change this up a little bit. Basically I was using this as testing just to make sure that both parts were showing up. All you need to do if you want to keep this part in here is leave the text whatever you want it to be called, or whatever you want it to say. You'll see that in a minute. This here is just an ID of error. So all you need to do is put a div somewhere, wherever you want it to display, and give it an ID equal to, and then whatever it is here, which is error. So you put that in, and that will show up any errors. But I'm just going to take that out for the sake of this tutorial, and I'm just going to put this in here, save that, and what I'm going to do is come over to my second screen, upload that page to our server, and I go back to here, refresh. As you can see, could not retrieve posts. So basically what happened was we've sent the Ajax alert, which has actually all gone through. It's gone to that URL, which obviously isn't there at the moment. It's gone through all of this. It can't do nothing, so it returns an error with the alert, which is this pop-up box, which is what we call the alert. And then whatever we put inside of here is whatever it will say here. So it could not retrieve posts. So as you can see, it won't allow you to open the article form because of we already have the error. But if you refresh, you see it open. Sorry. It won't let you open it because there's nothing to display. Okay, so what I could actually do is could not could not retrieve any news articles. Okay, we save that, upload that. And just to show you that this does actually work, I've just changed the text. So if I refresh, and that says could not retrieve any new articles. Could not retrieve any news articles. I really am going mad today. I do apologise, guys. So yeah, so we know that our jQuery and our Ajax and that is working because it is going through it. It's doing what it needs to do, and obviously if there isn't nothing it can find, it will then display us with this error. So you can use this, you can change it, you do whatever you need to do to make it for your site how you want it to display to the user. As again, this is just for testing purposes, as it's only a tutorial. So the next thing we're going to do is look at our get news equals to true, which is going to be our URL for our newsload.php. So I'll show you that. So the first thing we do is session start. Now we use this if we have a member-based site that requires users to log in. We use session start just to bring their sessions through. Use their sessions to bring through each page, so that if we do allow any member to upload using a form, we can actually insert their ID, their username, anything we need to display it back to the user, like in a forum post, for instance. So we can just gather their information using a session start. Second thing we need to do is include once, and this is my folder for my includes and my connect to my database. Now I've done this to make it universal to use throughout any page I need, rather than keep writing it in every single page. By doing this, I can go to my includes folder. I'm not going to show you it because it's got all my details in it, as again I'm actually using a live server. I'm not using man, anything like that, so that's why I don't want to show you my data inside there. But basically, if I changed any of the information inside of that, it would then correspond to every page that had this include once file on it for my database connect. So that's what making these include files is all about. It's so much easier to work with. Okay, so next thing is if is set post of get news. Now if you remember, I did say our data we was going to have get news is equal to true. So if that is set, we want to do our first SQL query, which is going to be MySQL query select star from tutorial order by ID descending limit 6. Now limit 6, this means that we're only going to pull out six posts from that table and display them to the page. I mean, we could change that to say 25, we could change it to 300, you could change it to whatever you like. But for the time being, I'm just going to use 6, and we're ordering it by the ID. So we're going to get it from each ID that's put in, and that's auto incremented. I'll show you the table for that in a minute. I don't remember if I showed you in the first video or not, so I will go over it again. Here we're just putting news is equal to nothing, just so that we can actually initiate that variable, just so we don't get any problems. The next thing is we're going to get the number of rows. So result 1 is equal to the number of rows of our SQL, which is up here. You can change this about and script it out to your liking, but this is how I prefer it. So we say if our result 1, which is this here, which is counting the number of rows, if that is if that is greater than 0, so if it does find any rows in that table with any data that we can bring out, we'll set up a while loop where a row 1 is equal to MySQL fetch array of our SQL1 query, and then we just pull out all our information here, or from here up. So this is just basically getting out any of the content from our table, where this variable name here is just a name I've made, but it's going to be equal to row 1 of our while loop, and this here is going to be the actual table data cell, if that makes sense. So whatever you give a name for that corresponding content is what we need to give out here. So obviously my ID is going to be news ID. News title is going to be my title. I will show you I'll show you the table now just to make it a bit clearer. So in my table I've got a column of ID, column of title, column of content, and a column for date time. And that's just an ID of integer, auto increment, which means it will add 1 to it each time. So if there's three posts in here already, the next one that goes in, it will add 1, so it would become an ID of 4, so on and so on. And that is also my primary key. The title I've just gave a varchar of 100. Content I've set to text, and the date time I've set to date time, and I've got them all as default of none. So that's the table. So as you can see, ID, title, content, date, time. If I go back to here, see ID, title, content, date, time. So that's our contents of our table. This one here is just a new name I've made, and I've just basically gave it the date, which is the date format of F, JS and Y. You will see what that prints out in a moment once we finish. And then just string to time, news date. Now these are PHP functions, date and string to time are PHP functions that can be used with data that you pull out of your database or anything like that. If you need to check out any of these functions, or if you want a better understanding, go to php.net and in the search box just write in date function or string to time function, and that will show you. Basically all we're doing is, say for instance, for our date time we would have 2011-12-31, so it would be the 31st to the 12th 2011, and then it may have 04:22:54, so it would be 4:22 and 54 seconds. That is how it would be printed out in the database. Now I don't like it like that, so using this function here, it would then be output as December the 31st, December 31st 2011, and I haven't actually put a timeout on there yet. I'm just leaving it as the date, but this is how it will actually be outputted using this function for the date and the string to time. So it just basically converts our date time stamp. Okay, next thing, if the string length of the news body, so here's our news body, and it's basically saying if the string length, so if the text that's been submitted in that news body, if that's greater than or equal to 350, then we want news body equals substring news body 0 350. So we're basically saying substring on the news body of 0 at the beginning to 350 as the maximum. If it does go over 350, or if it is equal to 350, we just append 3 dots on the end. So that should be sliced down to 350 characters. So basically, on some index pages of particular websites or blogs or anything like that, you may see a load of writing with ... and then read more. Now basically this is all we're doing, we're just cutting it down to make it easier for showing more of our posts, and then we allow the user to click on that individual post and then get up the full description. Okay, so I'm going to quickly read out this last bit and then I'm going to stop it here, and then we'll get on to our next video, which hopefully will be the last one. So div style, I'm not going to go through all the styling, blog link, view article ID. Okay, I'm going to take that out because I can't really use that. And I'm just quickly going through, sorry about this guys, I should have done this just now. Okay, so we're given a div to hold all of this content we want to show to the user, and we're giving it a class, a href tag for the news title, so that when they click this it will take them to the actual post to show them all the information. Then we close that div, we open another div and close that here, and we put a font colour, and then we say posted and posted on, which would then be what I showed you, December 31st 2011 or 2012, whenever it was posted. And then we actually put our news body here and the end the div, and where we've got news.equals, that just keeps appending to that. So within our while loop we want to keep appending if there's more posts being sent through, else we then append to all of that, which it would basically, it would ignore all of this, that would be ignored, and it would only show this here, which says there are no bulletins to show as of yet, or no news bulletins to show of yet. And then we close off our if and else here, and oh, no, sorry guys, we close our while loop here. I'm getting myself a bit confused again. We close our if and else here, and we close our if post statement here. Okay, so I'm going to quickly put this up on the server. This, and oh, I'll just quickly save that, and just get rid of that. Sorry guys, I'm working from 2 screens, I don't recommend it. Let's load that up. It's just so I can hide some of my personal data. Obviously I don't want other people to be shown everything. I don't want to have people trying to get into my PHP, my admin and what have you, so that's the only reason I'm keeping that data on a separate page. Okay, so if we go back to the page and go to our page here and refresh, now you can see we have output. There are no news bulletins to show as of yet. Now this is being shown because it can't actually find nothing in our database. As you can see, if I tried to click browse, it wouldn't show us anything because there's nothing to browse, there's no post. And you can see that the article form works. If I click submit article, it won't do nothing because we hasn't actually told jQuery and Ajax to submit the form or do anything. So we just close that back up. So this is what we have so far. So I'm going to leave this one here and join me in part 3 where we'll actually hopefully complete this series. Okay, cheers guys, and see you in part 3.